Good day, everyone. My report is Chapter 4, which is the internal assessment or internal audit. The internal audit part of the strategic management process is illustrated in this figure, which comes after the external audit. So this chapter focuses on identifying and evaluating a firm's strengths and weaknesses in the functional areas of business such as the management, marketing, finance and accounting, production and operations, research and development, and the management information systems. So the relationships and the strategic implications among these areas are examined. All organizations have strengths and weaknesses in the functional areas of business. For example, the Procter & Gamble's excellent marketing is considered as the company's strength. It is because the company applies intensive growth strategies wherein the main aim is to increase the company's market share and accomplishes this through marketing programs to raise consumer awareness of the company's consumer goods. So the internal strengths and weaknesses, together with the external opportunities and threats, in a clear statement of mission, provide a basis for establishing objectives and strategies in the organization. So objectives and strategies are established to take advantage of internal strengths and to overcome the weaknesses or the limitations of the company. Next, the key internal forces. So a firm's strengths that cannot be easily matched or imitated by competitors are called distinctive competencies. In other words, it is the unique capabilities of a company that set it apart from others in the industry, giving it a competitive advantage. So a company's distinctive competencies usually arise from sources such as unique business processes and technology. So a company must assess its internal and external environment to determine its distinctive competencies, and they should integrate it into their corporate strategy since they are the company's strongest qualities. For example, McDonald's uses its distinctive competency, which is their effective control systems, to earn high profits from its franchises. So this illustration shows that all firms should continually strive to improve on their weaknesses, which will transform them into strengths and eventually build distinctive competencies that will provide them with competitive advantages over their competitors. Next, the process of performing an internal audit. So the process of performing an internal audit closely parallels the process of performing an external audit. It requires gathering and assimilating information about the firm's management, marketing, finance and accounting, productions and operations, R&D, and MIS. So as discussed in Chapter 3, the key factors should be prioritized in order to discover the firm's most critical strengths and weaknesses together. And compared to the external audit, the process of performing an internal audit provides more opportunity for participants to understand how their jobs, departments, and divisions fit into the whole organization, which is a great advantage because employees perform better, especially when they, or we as employees as well, understand how our work affects other areas and activities within the company. A key to organizational success in performing an internal audit is an effective coordination and understanding among managers and employees from all the functional areas of business. It is because strategic management is a highly interactive process that requires effective coordination among all the areas of the business. So the managers from different departments and divisions of the firm should participate in conducting an internal strategic management audit for them to understand the nature and effect of decisions in other functional business areas in their firm. So it is crucial to understand these relationships in order to set effective objectives and strategies. For example, R&D managers may develop products for which marketing managers need to set higher objectives, or financial managers may need to restrict the numbers of feasible options available to operations managers. Next, the resource-based view or RBV. So RBV approach to competitive advantage contends that internal resources are more important for a firm than external factors in achieving and sustaining competitive advantage. So meaning a firm's internal or own resources should be considered first and foremost in developing strategies because it could be a more stable basis of building competitive advantage. So RBV can be grouped into three all-encompassing categories such as the physical resources, human resources, and organizational resources. Physical resources include all plant and equipment, location, technology, raw materials, and machines. Human resources include all employees, training, experience, intelligence, knowledge, skills, and abilities. And organizational resources include firm structure, planning processes, and information systems, patents, trademarks, copyrights, and databases. So for a resource to be valuable, it must be either rare, hard to imitate, and not easily substitutable. So these three characteristics of resources enable a firm to implement strategies that improve its efficiency and effectiveness and lead to a sustainable competitive advantage. So rare resources, these are resources that other competing firms do not possess. A firm with these rare skill sets can reap the competitive benefits and stand out in the market. So if companies have the same resources, they would not be able to employ different business strategies to outperform each other. Let's say for example, the technology giants Apple Incorporated and Samsung Electronics. Since they operate in the same industry, therefore they are subject to the same competitive market. However, they possess difference in organizational performance due to the difference in resources and their expertise. Next, it is also important that these same resources be difficult to imitate. So a resource that is easy to imitate is of little competitive advantage because it will be widely available from a variety of sources. Therefore, firms should make effort which may temporarily limit imitation. And last, borrowing from Porter's five forces model, to the degree that there are no viable substitutes, a firm will be able to sustain its competitive advantage. So the more a resource is rare, non-imitable, and non-substitutable, the stronger a firm's competitive advantage will be and the longer it will last. Integrating strategy and culture. Every business entity has a unique organizational culture that impacts strategic planning activities. So organizational culture is defined as a pattern of behavior that has been developed by an organization as it learns to cope with its problem of external adaptation and internal integration, and that has worked well enough to be considered valid and to be taught to new members as the correct way to perceive, think, and feel. So we can say that organizational culture is the set of values, beliefs, and behavior patterns that form the core identity of an organization and shared by employees and knit an organization together. So the definition also emphasizes the importance of matching external with internal factors in making strategic decisions. It is because external adaptation and internal integration see culture as the way an organization deals with its changing environment. So organization's culture can also be compared to an individual's personality in the sense that no two organizations have the same culture. For example, at Google, they have an informal culture, wherein employees are encouraged to wander the halls on employee-sponsored scooters and brainstorm on public whiteboards provided everywhere. While the culture at P&G is strict that employees jokingly call themselves proctoids. This illustration shows the different cultural products which include the values, beliefs, rites, rituals, myths, symbols, heroes, and legends. So these dimensions penetrate all the functional areas of business, and it can represent both strengths and weaknesses. and can also be used by strategists to drive and impact strategy formulation, execution, and evaluation activities. This table provides some example or possible aspects of an organization's culture, so employees can rate the degree that the dimension characterizes the firm that they are working for. Organizational culture significantly affects business decisions and thus must be evaluated during an internal strategic management audit. Therefore, culture shouldn't be taken for granted in performing an internal strategic management audit because culture and strategy must work together. So if strategies can benefit from cultural strengths such as strong work ethic or highly ethical beliefs, then management often can easily implement changes. But if the firm's culture is not supportive, strategic changes may be ineffective or even counterproductive. The first functional area of business that should be evaluated is the management. So the functions of management consist of 5 basic activities, which include the planning, organizing, motivating, staffing, and controlling. Each function plays an important role in the stages of strategic management. First management function is planning. So it is consists of all those managerial activities related to preparing for the future. So it serves as the bridge between the present and the future that increases the likelihood of achieving desired results. So it is the start of the process in order to achieve the dreams or visions for the organization. So through planning, it enables a firm to identify precisely what is to be achieved and to detail precisely the who, what, when, where, and why needed to achieve desired objectives. So the specific tasks include in planning are forecasting, establishing objectives, devising strategies, developing policies, and setting goals. So it is most important in the strategy formulation stage of strategic management as it serves as the foundation. But it is also essential in successful strategy implementation and strategy evaluation because organizing, motivating, staffing, and controlling activities depend upon good planning. So next is organizing. Organizing includes all those managerial activities that result in a structure of task and authority relationships. So its purpose is to achieve coordinated effort by defining task and authority relationships, by determining who does what and who reports to whom. So the organizing function of management can be viewed as consisting of 3 sequential activities. First, by breaking down tasks into jobs or work specialization. It requires the development of job specifications and job descriptions. Next, by combining jobs to form departments or departmentalization. This is the part wherein organizational structure is formed as well as the chain of command and span of control. Then last is the delegation of authority, which is important in organizing activity and is embedded in the strategic management process, more importantly in the stage of strategy implementation. Next is the motivating function. It involves efforts directed toward shaping human behavior and also deals with influencing the people, especially the employees in the organization, to accomplish specific objectives. So this is also the reason why some people work hard and others do not. The motivating function of management includes at least 4 major components: leadership, group dynamics, communication, and organizational change. Leadership includes developing a vision of the firm's future and inspiring people to work hard to achieve that vision. So it will show that a firm have good leaders when managers and employees of a firm strive to achieve high levels of productivity. Next, group dynamics play a major role in employee morale and satisfaction. So in every organization, informal group or coalitions are formed. So the norms of coalitions can range from being very positive to very negative toward management. Therefore, it is important that strategists identify the composition and nature of informal groups in an organization to facilitate strategy formulation, implementation, and evaluation. Communication is a major component in motivation. So an organization's system of communication determines whether strategies can be implemented successfully. So the strategic management process becomes a lot easier when subordinates are encouraged to discuss their concerns, reveal their problems, provide recommendations, and give suggestions. So next management function is staffing. It is also called as personnel management or human resource management. It includes activities such as recruiting, interviewing, testing, selecting, orienting, training, developing, evaluating, rewarding, disciplining, promoting, transferring, demoting, and dismissing employees, as well as managing union relations. So staffing activities play a major role in strategy implementation efforts. That is why HR managers are becoming more actively involved in the strategic management process. So it is also important to identify the strengths and weaknesses in the staffing area, as they also encounter problems, just like the increasing court cases that directly affect the staffing activities. So there are a lot of organizations that are castigated for not complying local laws or labor laws and guidelines related to staffing. So the last management function is controlling. It refers to all those managerial activities directed toward ensuring that actual results are consistent with planned results. So all managers in an organization have controlling responsibilities such as conducting performance evaluations and taking necessary action to minimize inefficiencies. So it is particularly important for effective strategy evaluation. Controlling consists of four basic steps. The first one is to establish a performance standard. So performance standard describe the accepted level of performance by an employee on the job and also describe the specific indicators of success for each skill within a competency map. Second is to measure the individual and organizational performance. And third is to compare the actual performance to planned performance standards and to take corrective actions. Management audit checklist of questions. So the following checklist of questions can help determine specific strengths and weaknesses in the functional area of business. An answer of no to any question could indicate a potential weakness, although the strategic significance and implications of negative answers, of course, will vary by organization, industry, and severity of the weakness, while a positive or yes answers to the checklist questions suggest potential areas of strength. So the next functional area of business that should be evaluated is marketing. Marketing can be described as the process of defining, anticipating, creating, and fulfilling customers' needs and wants for products and services. So there are 7 basic functions of marketing: customer analysis, selling products and services, product and service planning, pricing, distribution, marketing research, and cost and benefit analysis. So strategists need to understand these functions in order to identify and evaluate marketing strengths and weaknesses. So first marketing function is customer analysis. It is the examination and evaluation of consumer needs, desires, and wants. It requires to conduct customer surveys, analyze consumer information, evaluate market positioning strategies, develop customer profiles, and determine optimal market segmentation strategies. So through these activities, it can reveal the demographic characteristics of the firm's customers, which helps to determine why people buy or don't buy a product, and it can also help develop targeted marketing plans and to ensure that products meet the needs of their intended audience. Next is selling products and services. So the ability of an organization to sell a product or service is often required for successful strategy implementation. Selling includes many marketing activities such as advertising, sales, promotion, publicity, sales force management, customer relations, and dealer relations. So the effectiveness of various selling tools for consumer and industrial products varies. For example, personal selling is most important for industrial goods companies, while advertising is most important for consumer goods companies. So a key aspect of conducting an internal strategic management audit is identifying organizational strengths and weaknesses in the selling function of marketing. Next marketing function is planning product and service. So product and service planning includes activities such as test marketing, brand positioning, devising warranties, packaging, product features and options, product style, and quality. So test marketing is one of the most effective product and service planning techniques. It is a technique used to test consumer reactions to a product or a marketing campaign by making it available in limited quantities prior to wider release. So next marketing function is pricing. It is concerned with activities such as forward integration, discounts, credit terms, condition of sale, markups, cost, and unit pricing. So an organization pursue a forward integration strategy primarily to gain better control over prices charged to consumers. So there are 5 major stakeholders that affect pricing decisions, and these are the consumers, suppliers, distributors, competitors, and the government. The government can impose restrictions on price fixing, price discrimination, minimum prices, unit pricing, price advertising, and price controls. So pricing should be considered from both a short and long-term viewpoint by strategists, as competitors can easily copy price changes. Next marketing function is distribution. It includes warehousing, distribution channels, distribution coverage, retail site locations, sales territories, inventory levels and location, transportation carriers, wholesaling, and retailing. So distribution becomes especially important when a firm is striving to implement a market development or forward integration strategy. So successful organizations identify and evaluate alternative ways to reach their ultimate market. So possible approaches vary from direct selling to using just one or many wholesalers and retailers. So the strengths and weaknesses of each channel alternative should be determined according to economic, control, and adaptive criteria. Next is marketing research. It is the systematic gathering, recording, and analyzing of data about problems relating to the marketing of goods and services. So marketing research activities like online polls and surveys, focus groups, and one-on-one interviews support all of the major business functions of an organization. So it can uncover critical strengths and weaknesses, and marketing researchers employ several scales, instruments, procedures, concepts, and techniques to gather information. So organizations with strong marketing research capabilities have a distinct advantage when it comes to developing generic strategies. So the last marketing function is the cost and benefit analysis. It involves assessing the costs, benefits, and risks associated with marketing decisions. It calculates the benefits of a course of action and then compares them to the costs. So when expected benefits exceed total cost, an opportunity becomes more attractive. So the 3 steps are required to perform a cost and benefit analysis. First is to compute the total cost associated with a decision. Second is to estimate the total benefits from the decision. Third is to compare the total cost with the total benefits. So the cost and benefit analysis should also be performed when a company is evaluating alternative ways to be socially responsible. Marketing audit checklist of questions. So the following questions about marketing must be examined in strategic planning. Just like in management, an answer of no to any question could indicate a potential weakness, while a positive or yes answers to the checklist questions suggest potential areas of strength. Next functional area of business that should be evaluated is finance and accounting. So the financial condition is often considered as the single best measure of a firm's competitive position and overall attractiveness to investors. This serves as a standard for assessing a firm's performance. Therefore, in order to effectively formulate strategies, it is important to determine the organization's financial strengths and weaknesses. So the functions of finance and accounting comprises three decisions: the investment decision, the financing decision, and the dividend decision. The investment decision or capital budgeting is the process of making investment decisions in long-term assets. So it involves the company's major decision where to invest the current fund in the development of the organization, such as for addition, disposition, modification, or replacement of fixed assets. So once strategies are formulated, capital budgeting decisions are required to successfully implement strategies. Next, the financing decision determines the best capital structure for the firm and includes examining various methods by which the firm can raise capital. So it revolves around how to pay for investments and expenses of the firm. For example, by issuing stock, increasing debt, selling assets, or using a combination of this approach. And last, the dividend decision determines the division of earnings between payments to shareholders and retained earnings. So it is concerned with issues such as the percentage of earnings paid to stockholders, the stability of dividends paid over time, and the repurchase or issuance of stock. The financial ratio analysis is the most widely used method for determining an organization's strengths and weaknesses in the investment, financing, and dividend areas. It can reveal the strengths or weaknesses in the functional areas of business since they are closely related. So the key financial ratios can be classified into five types. First is the liquidity ratios, which measure or determine a company's ability to pay its short-term debt obligations. Second, leverage ratios, which determine the relative level of debt load that a business has incurred. Third, activity ratios, which measure the efficiency of a business in using and managing its resources to generate maximum possible revenue. Fourth, the profitability ratios, which assess a business' ability to generate earnings relative to its revenue, operating cost, balance sheet assets, or shareholders' equity over time. And last, the growth ratios, which indicate how fast a company or its business is growing. Finance and Accounting Audit Checklist. The following finance and accounting questions should also be examined in conducting an internal audit. Next functional area of business to be examined is the production and operations. It is the process which transforms the inputs or resources, such as raw materials, labor, capital machines, and facilities of an organization into final goods or services. So, since operations incur the majority of the cost of creating a product or service in most industries, the production and operations can be a valuable competitive weapon in a company's overall strategy. Therefore, it is important to examine the strengths and weaknesses in the five functions of production, as it can determine the success or failure of a company. So the five functions of production are the process, capacity, inventory, workforce, and quality. So in the process function, the firm or production manager must select the right production process. They must decide about the type of technology, machines, material handling system, facility design, facility layout, process flow analysis, facility location, line balancing, and process control. In capacity function, the firm or production manager must select the right production capacity to match the demand for the product. This is because more or less capacity will create problems. The production manager must plan the capacity for both short and long-term production. It also includes the decision for forecasting, facilities planning, aggregate planning, scheduling, and queuing analysis. Next is the inventory function. It involves managing the level of raw materials. There must be neither overstocking nor understocking of inventories. It is because if there is an overstocking, then the working capital will be black, and the materials may be spoiled, wasted, or misused. Whereas if there is an understocking, then production will not take place as per schedule and deliveries will be affected. So the raw materials, work in process, finished goods, and materials handling are what to be considered in the inventory function. Next is the workforce function. So it involves managing the skilled, unskilled, clerical, and managerial employees in the production and operations. By caring for job design, work measurement, job enrichment, work standards, and motivation techniques. So one of the examples is the cross-training of employees, which can help firms respond faster to changing markets. So cross-training of workers can increase efficiency, quality, productivity, and job satisfaction. So just like what they did in General Motors' Detroit gear and axle plant, wherein the costs related to product defects were reduced to 400% in 2 years as a result of cross-training of workers. So the last function of production and operations is quality. So it aimed at ensuring high-quality goods and services. So in today's competitive world, quality is given a high priority. Customers all over the world want high-quality products at the lowest possible price. So firms or production managers must constantly improve the quality of their product or products in order to meet consumer demand. So the quality control, sampling, testing, quality assurance, and cost control are the activities involved in this function. Many businesses have not adequately considered the capabilities and constraints of the production and operations function when developing strategies, which is a cause for concern. So James Dilworth outlined implications of several types of strategic decisions that a company might make. So this illustration shows the implications of various strategies on production and operations. Questions such as the following should be examined in performing an internal audit in the production and operations. The fifth major area of internal operations that should be examined for specific strengths and weaknesses is research and development. R&D strategies covers the areas such as development or searching of new products before competitors, improving the quality of existing products, and improving the manufacturing processes to reduce costs. So a strategic and operational cooperation between R&D and the other critical business functions is required for effective management of the R&D function. Therefore, R&D decisions and plans must be integrated and coordinated across departments and divisions by having the departments share experiences and information. The strategic management process facilitates this cross-functional approach to managing the R&D function. So there are four common approaches to determining R&D budget allocations. First is by financing as many project proposals as possible, which is a common approach when a firm is particularly positive about R&D possibilities and desires to aggressively invest in R&D by funding as many projects as possible from the available budget. And next is by using a percentage of sales method, which is a common approach when a firm approves a certain percentage of the sales for R&D purpose. So this ensures that the organization takes limited risk of monetary loss in R&D. And third is by budgeting about the same amount that competitors spend for R&D. This is also a common approach when a firm compares with the competitor's R&D spends and decides its own R&D budget in order to remain competitive in the R&D sector in their industry. And last is deciding how many successful new products are needed and working backward to estimate the required R&D investment. So this is the most rational approach to R&D budgeting. Here, the firm tries to optimize the R&D budget so that it is neither too much, leading to wastage of funds and unnecessary developments, nor too less, leading to incomplete research and missed timelines. So, different strategies should be implemented considering the different R&D capabilities of every firm. So, there is no single approach for every company at all times. Questions such as the following should be asked in performing an audit in the research and development. So the last functional area of business that should be evaluated is the management information systems. So information connects all business functions and serves as the foundation for all managerial decisions. Therefore, it is essential to assess firms' internal strengths and weaknesses in information systems. A management information system's purpose is to improve the performance of an enterprise by improving the quality of managerial decisions. So it is like library collecting, categorizing, filing data for use by managers throughout the organization. So an effective information system thus collects, codes, stores, synthesizes, and presents information in such a manner that it answers important operating and strategic questions because it is a major strategic resource, monitoring internal and external issues and trends, identifying competitive threats, and assisting in the implementation, evaluation, and control of strategy. Questions such as the following should be asked when conducting an audit in MIS. Value Chain Analysis or VCA. VCA is a process whereby a firm determines the cost associated with the organizational activities from purchasing raw materials to manufacturing products to marketing those products. It also enables firm to better identify its own strengths and weaknesses, especially as compared to competitors' value chain analysis in their own data examined over time. So through VCA, a firm recognizes which activities are the most valuable and which ones could be improved to provide competitive advantage. So it should be used by firms to develop the core competence and transform it into distinctive competence. So a core competence is a value chain activity that a firm performs specially well. And when a core competence evolves into a major competitive advantage, then it is called a distinctive competence. Many companies use VCA to gain and sustain competitive advantage by being specially efficient and effective along various parts of the value chain. So for example, the Walmart has built powerful value advantages by focusing on exceptionally tight inventory control, volume purchasing of products, and offering exemplary customer service. So in this illustration, it shows that the process of transforming value chain analysis into sustained competitive advantage. Next is about benchmarking. It is an analytical tool used to determine whether a firm's value chain activities are competitive compared to rivals and thus conducive to winning in the marketplace. So it is a way of discovering what is the best performance being achieved, whether in a particular company, by competitor, or by an entirely different industry, to identify gaps in an organization's processes in order to achieve a competitive advantage. So gaining access to other organizations' value chain activities associated costs can be the most difficult component of benchmarking. The typical sources of benchmarking information, however, include published reports, trade publications, suppliers, distributors, customers, partners, creditors, shareholders, lobbyists, and willing rival firms. The Internal Factor Evaluation Matrix. A summary step in conducting an internal strategic management audit is to construct an IFE matrix. So this strategy formulation tool summarizes and evaluates the major strengths and weaknesses in the functional areas of business. And it also provides a basis for identifying and evaluating relationships among those areas. So intuitive judgments are required in developing an IFE matrix. A complete understanding of the factors included is more important than the actual numbers. IFE matrix can be developed in 5 steps. First, list key internal factors as identified in the internal audit process. Use a total of from 10 to 20 internal factors including both strengths and weaknesses. List strengths first, then weaknesses. And be as specific as possible using percentages, ratios, and comparative numbers. Second step is to assign a weight that ranges from 0, not important, to 1, all important, to each factor. The weight assigned to a given factor indicates the relative importance of the factor to being successful in the firm's industry. So regardless of whether a key factor is an internal strength or weakness, factors considered to have the greatest effect on organizational performance should be assigned the highest weights. So the sum of all weights must equal to 1. So third step is to assign a 1 to 4 rating to each factor to indicate whether that factor represents a major strength or weakness. So a rating of 1 represents a major weakness, 2 a minor weakness, 3 minor strength, and 4 a major strength. So note that strengths must receive a 3 or 4 rating and weaknesses must receive 1 or 2 rating. So ratings are thus company-based, whereas the weights in step 2 are industry-based. Step 4 is to multiply each factor's weight by its rating to determine a weighted score for each variable. And the last step is to sum the weighted scores for each variable to determine the total weighted score for the organizations. So regardless of how many factors are included in an IFE matrix, the total weighted score can range from low of 1 to a high of 4, with the average score being 2.5. So total weighted scores well below 2.5 characterize organizations that are weak internally, whereas scores significantly above 2.5 indicate a strong internal position. An example of an IFE matrix is provided in this table, which is for a retail computer store. So the matrix shows that the store is having a major problems with its carpet, bathroom, paint, and checkout procedures. Overall, this store receives a 2.5 total weighted score, which on a 1 to 4 scale is exactly average or halfway, indicating there is definitely room for improvement in store operations, strategies, policies, and procedures. So since IFE matrix provides important information for strategy formulation, so this retail computer store might want to hire another checkout person and repair its carpet, paint, and bathroom problems. Also, the store may want to increase advertising for its repair services because that is a really important factor to being successful in this business. That's all for my report. Thank you.